Hi, I'm Dr. Gemma, and welcome back to Cognitive, the Knitting Psychology podcast. Cheerfully and somewhat irregularly in business since 2008. Segments today may include what's on my hooks, needles, and spindles, a strategy, something I really like, put a lid on it, oh shoot, and blather. So sit back, put your feet up, pick up your knitting, crocheting, spinning, weaving, or dyeing, or any other yarny thing you're doing, and get ready to enjoy. Hello, it's Dr. Gemma, and this is episode 248 of the new series of the Cognitive Podcast. And this one's called The Birthday Begins because just so much stuff happened this week. Honestly, I couldn't pick. But I have a lovely picture there in the show notes of the first birthday gesture I received. This is, of course, from Cheesecake Factory, and it made me very happy. So let me tell you what's been going on. First, though, your comments are very welcome. Either you may comment on the blog at cognitivepodcast.blogspot.com or on our group on Ravelry. And the warm thanks department, well, I have two thanks from the crew over on Finch. One is to my new buddy, A, and her burb, Frosty. Nice to meet you. I'm assuming you picked me up here, but I can't know that for sure. And also, I want to reiterate sending some calm to our own Kimmel and her burb, Everwill, because I don't know about you all, but after the last week, you betcha I need me some calm. The heat here has been really kind of stifling, and people have been reacting, shall we say, rather badly. Oh, yeah. So all I can tell you is I really want to thank the folks who are signing up for CFR 11. I'm getting rather excited about it. And I also want to thank my friends on the ground here in the SCV and my burb friends over on Finch and all my crafty friends over on Reddit. I really appreciate this, and I appreciate the comments. You can see that is Courage. Courage went to the Amazon this week, and another burb challenged me that we're doing the Can You Collect All the Colors challenge. So I just decided to go from light to dark, or dark to light, I forget which. Anyway, so you can see me there experimenting with the browns in the Amazon, and I'm rather enjoying it. One of my goals is to buy up all the colors that are available for burb bodies and features. I can't explain why. It just really bugs me that there are all these colors all the time, and I finally thought, buy them all and just mix and match and have fun. So there is Courage experimenting with the colors in the Amazon. And I think he went to the Amazon, and then Forthright went to Paro in Bhutan. And I think they're both now moved again. I decided to just give them 5 days in every place because I couldn't choose between places. So Courage, I think, went to Paris. And Forthright, I think, is in Tokyo. So we're kind of experimenting with locations and body color and every sort of thing, just having fun. I hate to say it, it's like a dollhouse with goals. In the meantime, the Cognitive Fiber Retreat 11, all the information is right there. There's a link in the show notes that will take you to the information thread on Ravelry. I do want to be clear, I don't think we're getting a discount at the hotel because I don't have 25 of us yet to promise to them. But we have a nice group going. The other thing I want to tell you is I wanted to think about classes, and we're not hearing much about classes. So I thought, should we do contests? And I was crocheting one of my Dragon Paw fingerless gloves. And I thought, we really should just have an anonymous contest for most unusual thing we have made, or most weird, our best, our worst, our ugliest, I don't know. But I thought maybe it's time to just have a contest instead, to do a series of contests for interesting knits and interesting crochet pieces as well. If you have any comments on this, I'd love to hear them, but I just think it could be interesting. And I also realized we have a very, very experienced group coming. And I thought, do we need classes? Well, if somebody offers, we'll go that way. In the meantime, your ideas are always welcome. Please mark your calendars. It's $10 per person. Please send the payment. You can see all that in the show notes, how to do it. It's also in the information thread. And we just have open enrollment. You want to join? Come join us. It'll be great. What's on my hooks and needles? Well, surprisingly, at the last minute, it's been a good week for finishing things. First, I was in Barnes & Noble, and I was working on one of my series of shrugs that I'm making out of Noro cotton blend yarns. I really, really needed a removable stitch marker. And I thought, oh, okay, and I started trying to problem solve. Where could you get one of those? And realized I'm going to pay a lot. And well, I was in Glendale on Sunday, and I wandered into the Galleria area, and I went over to Barnes & Noble, of course, because all adults end up at Barnes & Noble. It's like an adult toy store, you know? Great books, coffee house, restrooms, and craft kits. I mean, toys. What else do you want? Writing materials. It just doesn't get better. And of course, I found the Woobles shelf, and there was Hal, the Woobles jack-o'-lantern. He is supposed to be unique to Paper Source, but Barnes & Noble now owns Paper Source. This B&N in Glendale is enormous. It's 3 stories. I walked in the front door. They were loaded with Paper Source gear. I said, I'll bet you they've got Hal. They had 3 of Hal. So I went upstairs to the 3rd floor, in case you're wondering, almost directly in front of the coffee shop. And there they were. And I bought one. So now I had 3 removable stitch markers and Hal. Hal is very, very easy. He is, as I said, a very new issue for Halloween this year. And he is supposed to be unique to Paper Source, alias Barnes & Noble. There is nothing unusual about Hal. He's a very, very fast crochet. The interesting thing, of course, is because he's a pumpkin, you sort of divide him into segments with your yarn. I had already made the mini pumpkin from a previous Halloween set, I think from 2 years ago now. And it really taught me how you do the little divisions on Hal. It's very, very easy. Do not be intimidated by him. His yarn for his eyes and nose and mouth glows in the dark, which is cool. He's got his own unique hook. You know, it's a G hook, a 4.0. But anyway, there is Hal. And that gave me the removable stitch marker I needed for working on one of my shrugs. Meanwhile, I did finally finish the blue emotional support chicken. And I've been calling her Emily. I know, not a very clever name. But I am cheered by the fact I used to have a whole bag of leftover sock yarn. Now I've just got a little heap of it on my desk. And I'm working my way through it. That was the good news. The bad news, can't find the tummy I made for the brown chicken, who will be the last of this series. I made 4 tummies when I was down in Ventura on vacation. And I can't find the brown tummy. This is making me crazy, because I really want to get started on that chicken. That would be, I believe, 7 of these girls in sock yarn. And I love the way it's eating the sock yarn. There is no lie about it. And I love all the crazy colors. So there is Blue Emily. And you can see a picture of her meeting the flock. You have to count carefully to catch all the chickens in that picture, but there's 8 of them, I believe. And they're just, of course, flocking around there. Yuck, yuck, yuck. In progress, no work on the big projects. Unfortunately, the alfresco, which is crocheted, has joined that list of big projects. I really need to get back. I just have a lot of little finishing work, but really that's true also of the Lakeside cardigan, the 10 square bag, and the Virgo sweater. But meanwhile, I finished, as you may remember, spinning up all the camel hair silk and the corresponding color, the persimmon, from Lisa Susie and the BFL. And I got really depressed about adding that, because I think it came out to like 6 little skeins of different sizes. And I got really depressed about adding that to the yarn toss, you know, the stash toss numbers. And so I didn't. What I did was I started crocheting with it. And I started making dragon paws, because I was trying to think of a really good use. This is not enough yarn to do a vest with. And even if I did a vest, it's kind of thick, thin. There's a lot of variation. I thought, no, I just can't come up with something I like. So what I decided to do was to use all of the yarn that has the camel hair silk, which is the straight up camel hair silk that is chain plied against itself. And then the camel hair silk that was 2 plies of that against 1 ply of the Persimmon BFL. And so you can see the first dragon paw there. These are fingerless gloves, and the information's in the show notes. This is from a pattern by Yarnivore in the UK. This is the best iteration I've seen of this kind of mitt with the scales that I think normally, what are they called? These are normally called pineapple stitch, I think, but I like them better as dragon paws. This is probably my 4th pair of these. These things make amazing gifts. People really like them, and fingerless mitts are notorious for not being warm. These guys are, because you've got those layered pineapple scales, the dragon scales, up over your fingers. So these are surprisingly warm in the winter, and I've been very fond of them. I wear them all the time here. Of course, I am in winter in Southern California. Meanwhile, you can see my progress on the purple lacy shrug. This is the one I swear I will not yet again try to explain the orientation issue here. But I am doing this the way Lion Brand wants you to do it. Which is to say, I am just crocheting one big rectangle, folding it in half on the short edge, wrapping it around my arms and seaming it where my arms will go, and then leaving the back flat and straight to be the back of the shrug. I'm very glad you can see the stripe pattern there. It's worth it to me to do that. You can also see, yes, I finally went and bought the pinkish orange that I was in love with. That's turning into a shrug even as we speak. And you can see an early phase of Emily, the blue emotional support chicken there, how she looked when she was flat. I really just love these things, as you can tell. Meanwhile, no work on anything else. I did a little bit of spinning on the Giverny colorway from Lisa Souza, the BFL, on the Electric Eel 6.1. So that means let's get on to a strategy. And the strategy isn't what I expected, but I saw this meme and I thought this really fits in with something I had to explain to a teenager this week. And really what I'm trying to explain is not what is happiness, but why is happiness? Where does it come from? Okay, and so this meme is really perfect. It is from, I think, 1 million women is what it's from. Okay, thank you, ladies. And it is, we are often sold the idea that material purchases can bring us happiness, but true happiness doesn't come from buying things, it comes from. And then there's a list of things. You know, a homemade meal, hugging your pet. I can't even read that. Oh, long naps. Being in nature. A good book from the library, a good night's sleep, great conversations, slow mornings, listening to birdsong, and so on. I can't read all of them, but you get the idea. And I was looking at that, and I was thinking, you know, this one patient has been really working for weeks to convince me that I should advocate for him to get a lot more video time than he currently gets. Believe me, he's getting enough. And he says, well, you see, I'm lonely and that would make me less lonely. And the answer is, no, it won't. It won't at all. And then this meme comes up and I start thinking about, well, why is that all true? All right. And there's, from what I can tell, there is always a biological explanation. You know that, right? That humans, we're chemical factories and those chemicals are driving our emotions. This is not to say we are only chemical. Our emotions also drive our chemicals. It goes in both directions. And our mind can actually intervene very actively in this whole process. So if we are unhappy and we decide to be happy in our mind, we can make that happen. Okay, having said that, we are not mere chemical machines, which is what I don't want you to believe or to hear from me. What is happiness then? Why does happiness happen? And that meme is such a great example of it, of the causes of it. Okay, so to boil it down, there's 2 reasons in the body. One is dopamine. Now, you've heard serotonin in terms of depression, and yes, serotonin defeats depression in the brain. But dopamine seems to be where we get our long-term satisfaction. And yes, all of you chemistry people and biology people, I am wildly simplifying here because I don't really feel like putting the whole audience to sleep at only 15 minutes into the episode. But there is a chemical, dopamine, in our brains that we get, and we get it from certain scenarios. And this ties into the other thing that causes it, not all the time, not every time, but many times, and that is our social neurons. We have cells near the base of our brain, and not every animal has them, and they are about sociability. So when you have your own family, they are sort of your tribe, as it were. When you are around your tribe, those neurons light up. Now, in some people, they light up just around anybody. There's a whole phenomenon here we haven't studied enough. But certainly when you are with the people whom you identify as special to you, their physical presence lights up the social neurons, and this seems to cause happiness. I don't know if this is a dopamine release. I would suspect it is. So the interesting thing here is you can extend that network. Like I said, there's different sensitivities. There is a question, people with serious autism, can they light their social neurons? Is that part of the problem? They do seem to. But the question is, do they have more trouble lighting them than the rest of us? When I say lighting, of course, I'm talking about we see them light up on an MRI scan, okay? Magnetic resonance imaging, you know. All right. But the idea is we adopt people into our tribe and they begin to light up our social neurons. So let's go back to why is happiness. Happiness, when it comes from dopamine, that is a human perceives a problem or a challenge. That gives us dopamine. When we solve it, we get a lot more dopamine. But also when we ignite those social neurons, we're getting dopamine pretty apparently. Okay? So now you go back to that chart. What will really make you happy? Well, a video game isn't going to do it. You're not going to light the social neurons in a video game. This has real implications in things like doing therapy and medicine on Zoom, for example. And we're still working on that because I do seem to get some pretty good success doing it. And that leads to questions we simply haven't answered about if you relate enough to the person on the screen, can you light your social neurons? But here's what does not light it. Video gaming. Even role-player games, they don't light. It won't work. As far as we can see, interacting in a role-playing game just doesn't light the social neurons. Talking to a person who you can see and whom you're watching react to you, and you're following each other's body language on the screen as in Zoom, that may be doing it because I've certainly seen patients get happy to see me. And I've seen patients online who are sad in the beginning of the session and are happy after an hour of talking to me. Pardon me while I pat myself generously on the back. Okay, so now we go back to that meme. We are often sold the idea that material purchases can bring us happiness, but true happiness doesn't come from that. And if you look at the meme through this filter, what you see are some interesting patterns. First, physical happiness has great difficulty occurring if you are not healthy. And of course, you remember when we talk about emotional management skills, eat, sleep, move, focus. And you can see it on that meme that they're talking about slow morning, but they show a cup of latte or coffee of some sort. And they show Z's for sleeping. Okay, that's physical rest. They also say being in nature. But nature is a healthy stimulation for the entire brain, and it's breathing unrecirculated air. So also things like a long walk, okay? And one of the other things there is beautiful sunsets. So there is a suggestion that physical health and also physical appropriate stimulation of the senses, which in turn stimulates the greater part of the brain, these things cause happiness. The bird song, same thing. Oh yeah, I'm missing a homemade meal. Now, a homemade meal is interesting because it starts to fall over into the other category, and that is the socialization category. Okay, so hugging your pet, a homemade meal, spending time with your friends, great conversations. Why are these good for us? Okay, these light the social neurons. These are all about relating to other beings and people. Yes, dogs do have social neurons, and theirs light up really wildly when they're with humans, more so even than when they're with other dogs. Okay, so there's another definition of happiness lurking here, and that is being with others. And it can be a dog, possibly it can be online like in Zoom, where you have visual contact and you're sharing conversation. But I wouldn't push it much further than that, like into video gaming. So what you come down to is the definition of happiness is nesting inside healthy socialization, taking care of your body, and yes, the ACCEPTS acronym. All these things are also distractions. You can see a homemade meal and looking at the sunset and listening to birds. These are all, of course, sensory distractions. So is hugging a dog. And of course, these are also part of the emotional management skills. So, the question isn't, what is happiness? This ethereal thing that poets have tried to describe, yada, yada, yada. That's somebody else's scope of practice. Christina Rossetti or Emily Dickinson or William Shakespeare or Jane Austen. That's not what I do. But I do, why is happiness? And happiness really is the things in that meme, and it's always going to come back to eat, sleep, move, focus, appropriate distraction away from problems you can't solve, and communication in some form that stimulates the social neurons. Why is happiness? Now you know, so go out there and get some. Meanwhile, in Offshoot, it's been another good weekend. On Saturday, it was unbelievably hot and muggy, so like a complete idiot, I got on the train, which was air-conditioned, and I went to Los Feliz, which wasn't, but I got up to the observatory again. Now, at the observatory, I didn't really do anything new. What I did was started studying the schedules, and I explored a little further. I wanted to see another show in the planetarium, but I am there around the 11:45 show, and that is always the one I already saw, Signs of Life. So hopefully I will stay a little later in a coming weekend and see the next show afterwards. And I don't remember the name of it, but it sounded good. But I did find the gift store. I did research a membership, which is very, very interesting. And I got a simple membership. I forget the name of it. It's all named after star clusters. It's really quite lovely. And I wandered around. I got up to the very top at the dome. I looked at the Zeiss telescope, which was beautiful. I also explored the flowers, and I took a lot of pictures because the sky was moody and interesting. And so you can see there are the flowers I loved right by the dome. And there I am up on the dome looking across past the Zeiss telescope, in fact. Further down in the blather, there are pictures of LA and Santa Monica from up there. You can identify them by the size of their buildings and that band of smog. But it was really, really lovely. On Sunday, I did hiking in Glendale again, but this time it was so miserably hot. I just got on the bus and I went straight to the Galleria and hung out in the air conditioning, where I learned an interesting thing. The Galleria is this enormous shopping mall, a la the 1980s type of shopping malls, and it is still populated. A lot of shopping malls in America no longer are used. We overdid it with the shopping malls, let's put it that way. But the Galleria is a really nice example. It's a really big one. It's very populated by all the stores, and it's really nice in hot weather. So I went and I sat early in the day over by the food court where nothing was open, and I just crocheted and kind of organized myself, worked on my Finch stuff, wrote in my notebook, that sort of thing. And then I just went and had lunch and explored. And I will come back to that in the blather. But I did spend Sunday there. As you can see, I got Hal the Pumpkin, among other things. Meanwhile, I have not been running because of the extreme heat, which is a little scary because the Be the Light 5K is coming up on September 21st. You can see my schedule there. Let's get on to the fluffy books. So now I have finished Alchemy and a Cup of Tea by Rebecca Thorne. And again, I really enjoyed the Tomes and Tea series. This is the third book in the series. It is light and fluffy. It is pleasant, okay? it is not what I call wildly deep. I also finished a long time ago now, actually about 5 days ago, Emily Wilde's Map of the Other Lands, and I could not stop myself and went right on to Emily Wilde's Compendium of Lost Tales. It is everything I want it to be. And I did, in the world of actually reading, I finished reading Lindsay Davis's mystery. This is a Flavia Albia mystery called There Will Be Bodies. Now, Lindsay Davis has been writing a long time, and her first series is Marcus Didius Falco, the adoptive father of this character, Flavia Albia. And I really recommend the Didius Falco series. They're amazing. And she's now written quite a few of the Flavia Albias. I think there's at least 13 of them. And I am concerned that she thinks she's running out of time to write the books because she gives a lot of hints at the end. She has a rather non-traditional ending for her to the book. I hope there's going to be more Flavia Albia. I like Lindsay Davis. Her plots can get a little over-involved for me, but I am just fond of the whole Didius Falco clan, and I love keeping up with them. So I don't care what the mystery is. Meanwhile, something I really like, Los Angeles County Department of Transportation, both on the bus and on the train. Okay, so it's been interesting in terms of events going on public transit for me. And you may remember last week I met the crabby bus driver who wouldn't take my rail pass. And I called it in, and LA Dot called me right back, a nice lady named Amber, and handled it. So this week, guess which bus driver I get going up to the observatory? And she recognized me. And I recognized her. And I held up my train pass, and she babbled. Well, I'm supposed to take that. Well, I just don't know how to take that. Well, I just don't know what. Well, just put it on the tap monitor. See if that will read it. I said, it will not read it. It will not. I can promise you. Well, do it anyway. So I did it. It didn't read it. And I said, this is simply a pass. You look at it. The other bus drivers do it all the time. You'll be okay. And I tried to be nice and smile at her. And she really just kind of babbled at me. And I just walked past her and said, now we're done. Now we're not going to have any more of that. So I was very grateful that clearly Amber from LA Dot did exactly what she told me she would do. And it seemed pretty obvious to me that this particular driver got a little bit of a talking to about her manners. She was much nicer to people this week. You could see she was straining to do it. But I was very, very grateful for that. So meanwhile, I take the train to Glendale, and there is a lady, and she's my age, very boomer, and very fancy clothes. And she gets on the train and sits in my compartment, and there's huge amounts of open space. And she looks at the people on the train who, shall we say, represented a different socioeconomic class than her, and also racially different from her. And they were doing absolutely nothing wrong. They were just listening to music in their earphones, reading, whatever. And next thing I know, she's bashing her big bag into me and trying to squeeze into the space with me, because I'm in a space, 2 seats facing 2 other seats, but there's no table between them. And it wouldn't have been bad, except there's this big ledge sticking into the floor space. I assume there's some kind of pipe or heating system running there. And, it's okay. If you had little kids, the little kids could sit on those seats and put their feet on that ledge and be okay. When you're adults, it's a little more awkward. When you're adults and you've got a backpack on the seat next to you that is on top of the ledge, and she brings in a giant bag and starts trying to put it on the seat next to her, and then on the ledge, and then on your seat, and on your knees, and all this. And I just kept a calm face and focused on my phone, and then was really getting frustrated with her bashing me with this bag. So I finally started to crochet, and that seemed to tame her. She gave me this big sunny smile. I guess I looked quaint. She was older than me, but it was definitely one of those, oh, we're both old ladies together, I guess, moments. I don't know. But I realized suddenly she's afraid that she's just not used to being on public transit, and she's looking at these perfectly nice people sitting around us, and she's interpreting them through an unpleasant filter. And I thought, yeah, okay, systemic racism and all that, and I've certainly done the same, and you have to kind of brace yourself, but I did wish she'd stop bashing me with that damn bag. Okay, so I was thinking about that. Sunday, I get on the train, and as I'm at the train station, this man walks by me, and being what I am, I'd say he was psychotic actively, and he says, "Women, you're demons. Demons." And I thought, okay, I'll be staying away from you. And the other lady next to me sort of huddled near me, both of us being, older than 60. And when we got out to the platform, of course, he's on one side ranting, and the men are kind of around him, not worrying about it. And the women are all huddled at the far end where I was. So I said, okay, I've had enough. So I dialed in to LA Dot and just reported it, text message. They thanked me. They said, well, if you had a picture, and I'd already sent them a picture, and they said, oh, okay. And I said, I'm sorry, it's blurry, but I'm not getting close to him. And I did not bother to say, here's what I do for a living, here's what I think of him. I just said, this guy is there calling women demons, and all the women are trying to huddle at one end away from him on the platform. And they said, okay. And by the time I got all this in, I was on the train, and I've seen this guy get on the train before, although I never heard the demons thing. And so I was worried he was on the train, and I noticed right away when the conductor and the guard got a message about him, and they immediately went through the train looking carefully and looking at their phones. And so I want to thank LA County DOT because I appreciate the trains and the buses being kept safe. I appreciate realistic handling of things like rail passes, particularly for the elderly and the disabled. I appreciate the fact that I got amazingly good customer service from them. Thank you very, very much. Meanwhile, the back episodes from the original series, episodes 181 through 242, are up, and they are still on Proton. I have not yet processed the new series, so I may remount the old series for September and just go through that one more time to give everybody their chance to get them. We'll see. I'll keep it posted. Meanwhile, put a lid on it, nothing, but we do have the Keterade recipe, of course, which will keep happening until the weather cools. In the blather, well, the beloved son went off to college. As I record this, it is Tuesday night at 6:55 p.m. on August 26, 2025. The beloved son went to college. He went to his second day today. Now, of course, the poor kid has two parents who are education junkies. So one of the things we did was what nobody did for us. We made him read the first chapter of the textbooks for all his classes before he went to the first class. This is something I did not know when I went to college, that you need to do it. So when you go to the first class, the professor lectures, and instead of hearing it for the first time, you are correcting your knowledge that you gained from reading the first chapter. And this is how you learn more effectively. Any college professor will tell you this, but people entering college for the first time are not aware of this. So he went to statistics. He came out happy as could be, saying, I have to correct my homework, but I got the first chapter done. And he liked the teacher. He had a great experience. Today he went again. I'm not sure what class he went to. It might have been World Civ. He went to 2 classes today. And, he's been commuting. He's very proud. He takes the train and the bus and sometimes his bike. And he's just having a really, really good time with this. And it's really marvelous to see him doing it. He does not yet drive. So we're very proud. The college man is going to college and he works. Oh boy, he comes home and he works. He really works. I'm proud of him. Okay, meanwhile, I told you I was hanging at the mall on Sunday. And there's not much more to say. I just strolled around the stores. I did about 3 miles of walking, which made me really happy. And I bought the Howl, but I didn't buy anything else. I had a lovely lunch, of course, over at Cheesecake Factory. Now, at Cheesecake Factory, I had a free slice for my birthday. So I thought, what the heck? And I asked for it. And I got the low carb. I don't eat the crust. But it comes with sugar-free whipped cream and strawberries. Well, and they brought it, and you can see the picture at the top of the show notes, and they wrote in chocolate syrup around it, happy birthday. What I really love was the waitress walks up, looks at me and says, this is for you, my queen. I've never been called a queen before. Thank you, ma'am. Thank you. And yes, I did scrape some of that lovely chocolate syrup with my finger and taste it. It's peculiar. I don't believe I've had that in 7 years. It's a peculiar flavor when you're not used to it. And I realized why people like chocolate is that strong, just tang in the background. At any rate, it was delicious. And thank you. I can't have a lot of that cheesecake because it really does raise my blood sugar a little bit. But I figure, okay, once a year my birthday, that's okay. And then, of course, I'm skipping the fact that on Saturday, I did go to the Griffith Observatory. There are pictures of the Zeiss telescope. It's just so damn cool. I'm not an astronomer, and I don't really get astronomy. I'm not terrific at physics. I'm not terrific at astronomy. I'm very good at math. I have to say, I don't have a weakness where math is concerned, but I just never got interested in the stars. And now that I'm aging, I regret that a little bit, because it was terribly interesting because you kept running into people who were working at the observatory, and you kept having this sort of interface between the public and the people working there, the researchers and the employees. And it's a beautiful thing to be in a research facility again, even though my research was English and psychology. You can also see the pictures, as I told you, of looking out from up by the highest level of the domes that you can get to as a tourist. And I just enjoyed those pictures. I enjoyed just standing there and enjoying that view. And, you know, what can I say? The first picture, you see the dome, and I believe that's looking towards LA. But the second picture, where there's no Griffith Observatory in the picture, you're looking at Santa Monica towards the ocean, and the picture below that is Los Angeles, is the skyline. Very, very beautiful up there. The mugginess, a little bit of rain, made it even more exciting. And of course, I went down the hill to my favorite Starfish sushi and had my sushi lunch and was happy. Meanwhile, you can see all the community resources, the information about ICE, the calendar coming up. You will see that I have August 1st through actually now September 2nd, because I have a medical appointment on September 2nd, splat in the middle of the day. So there's no way I'm going to be able to see patients. And then I've got, again, the 4th through the 7th. Yes, that means next week I'm only working Wednesday on the 3rd. I love that. That's okay. It's time for a break. And Minerva's going to get the last word here. Ooh, this is a short one. Minerva, I want to tell you the auto feeder and the water fountain, how they're working. Well, the water fountain first. She would not touch it. She would not go near it. I was really worried. I came back. The litter box did not have much of a puddle in it. I realized she's crawling into the bathtub and drinking because that faucet drips a bit. And finally, I caught her using the fountain while it was running. And she did it, of course, in typical Minerva style. She's a big cat. She leaned her entire body across it. She stood at one edge, leaned her neck all the way across, past where the water's shooting out, to the other edge, and lapped at it, and took a big, long drink. So Minerva is now happily using the fountain. I feel like she's not really fond of it, but at the same time, she does like moving water. She does appreciate that it's not stale. So I haven't caught her in the bathtub recently. I think she is adapting. The auto feeder is a little irregular because it wants you to use little teeny pellets, and I use bigger pellet cat food. And meow mix, in fact. And what I started with was 3 feedings, 3 in the morning, 3 at night, because none was coming out. Well, and then I was coming in and finding food everywhere. So we're now down to 1 in the morning and 2 at night, and I will be cutting it back to 1 in the morning, 1 at night, because she's getting enough, and I can always walk in and manually add more. So those things have worked. You can see her owning my command chair and pretending none of this is happening and pretending that she is in charge of her own destiny. But this, my friend, is why I have social neurons and opposable thumbs. I actually don't know if cats have social neurons. I suspect she may. At any rate, having said all this, remember, we have social neurons. We have dopamine because we are members of community. Humans are meant to be in community. No matter what kind of fantasies you see online, I'm an introvert, I don't need people. No, that's not true. I need to come back to that and talk about why that is so popular, actually. It's really not what you'd expect. At any rate, having said that, we have all these wonderful biological adaptations because we are members of a community, and when we take care of the community, we are taking care of the individual. Having said that, everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I will talk to you soon. Bye-bye. So we have come to the end of another episode of Cognitive. Please do not use this podcast to diagnose yourself. If you think you are having a mental health problem, please contact a licensed mental health professional. Show notes for these episodes can be found at cognitivepodcast, all one word, .blogspot.com. Episodes can be found at iTunes under the name Cognitive Podcast, but also can be found posted next to the show notes on the Blogspot page. Thank you so much for listening. Everybody, stay safe, take care of each other, and I'll talk to you soon. Bye-bye.